Hey, it's Mike Rowe, and it just occurred to me that ZipRecruiter has been sponsoring my podcast, The Way I Heard It, for the last 10 years. Consequently, I've agreed to sing their jingle at the end of this commercial in 4-part harmony, all by myself. Why would I do that? Because years ago, when the MicroWorks Foundation was expanding and I was desperate to hire a few uniquely qualified individuals, I posted a job for free on ZipRecruiter, and I found the people I was looking for in less than 24 hours. It's that simple. Ever since, I've been telling my audience that ZipRecruiter got me the most qualified, most interested people. And now I'm telling you. Post a job for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip and watch what happens. That's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. And now, here's their official jingle in 4-part harmony.
Build your team, build it sooner. Meet your match at ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Happy Dublin Game Week. Hello and welcome to the Irish NFL Show. My name is Shane Brennan. Thank you very much for joining this College Football Rewind special, brought to you on the Believe Network and in association with our partners QuinnBet. Ahead of last year's Dublin College Classic, we decided to have a conversation with LSU National Champion winning head coach Ed Orgeron. One of my favourite interviews I have done for as long as I've been part of the show, and I wanted to give it a second airing out, especially because now he's back in the LSU setup and it's going to be a very big talking point over the course of the year. But just listen to him talk about the game really gets us in the mood for real football, which is coming back this weekend. By the way, speaking of real football coming back, we are having our big live NFL preview show on the stage at the Arlington Hotel this Saturday the 29th of August. That's midday of college football game day in Dublin. Come in and listen to us. We make all of our predictions. We're going to have all of our arguments, players that are going to impress, teams that are not going to impress. And the beauty of it is, if you join us in the Arlington Hotel from midday, you can come in, enjoy your breakfast, have a bit of crack, and tell us where you think we're wrong. That's all part of the fun of it here at the Irish NFL Show. But for now, let's throw you over to my chat with Coach O. The Aer Lingus Classic this weekend means that all of us in Ireland are hit with college football fever. So who better to talk to this week than a man who was won a national champion? Ed Orgeron, thank you very much for joining the show. Good to talk to you, man.
Hey, good to talk to you, man. And you know what? I'm glad college football's coming. It's been a long summer. You guys have a great game, 2 great teams coming. I know you're excited.
Yeah, we really are excited. We're excited for a lot of elements of college football. Obviously, we got Kansas State and Iowa State playing 2 Big 12 teams. Then we can look forward to so much happening next week with Texas and Ohio State. I mean, it must be weird for you, obviously, somebody who's grown up with the sport, to see people in Ireland caring so much about college football and the passion that we have for it now. It must be it's an odd experience.
You know, I've been hearing lately about the passion for football around the world. And then in Ireland, I know you guys had Notre Dame last year. I'm good friends with Marcus Freeman. What a great coach and what a great team y'all had. And now y'all got 2 great teams coming. And Kansas State and Iowa State, 2 returning quarterbacks, which, as you guys know, is very important in today's game. The quarterback is the key, is the engine to the football team. Boy, what a great game you guys have.
Very much. I guess I have to start to talk to you about your days at LSU, because I was fortunate enough earlier this year to visit the state of Louisiana. It's a beautiful part of the world. And I was passing through Baton Rouge, and I cut a long story short, the bus I was on broke down, but we were in a stop. And in it, there was a big photograph of your guys' victory in 2019. You know, it's the connection, considering especially that you grew up so close to Baton Rouge and you're from Louisiana, the connection you must have to that place and what you achieved there must be something special.
Unbelievable. It's something I always dreamed of. And, you know, you being from Ireland, and you know how much you love your country, and you know how much you love your homeland. I'm the same thing about Louisiana. I love our people. And, you know, to be the head coach at Louisiana State University, you have to understand, you represent everybody in that state. On Saturday night, everybody's TV is on the LSU Tigers, and they're pulling for the Tigers. So it was very rewarding to know that the people of Louisiana were very happy with our football team. And again, we had a great football team. I had a great coaching staff, and we had some great players.
It's interesting a phrase you use about your time there was about flipping the script. What does flipping the script mean for you at Louisiana State?
Yeah, I went to Ole Miss, and Pete Carroll was a mentor of mine. Jimmy Johnson was a mentor of mine, and they told me being a head coach is different, and there was no book to read to be a head coach. I was a successful defensive line coach, so I coached the whole team like I coached the defensive line. It didn't work, okay? So I had to flip the script. I had to change my mindset from being a defensive coach to being a head coach and being a CEO, which for me was a change because all my life I had been an assistant football coach. So I flipped the script. I totally turned things around. Hey, if I had an idea of doing something, I'd do the exact opposite, and it worked. But really, I had some great mentors, and then getting to LSU is a school that where you can win the national championship, and you should win it, and we did.
What kind of things did you change? Because obviously that process must have taken a couple of years between you obviously coming into your position where you were interim head coach, then head coach, and then eventually building up to that point where you won the national championship.
Yep.
You know, that was a process, but obviously something that worked out well.
You got to figure out who you are. You got to figure out what you believe in and what are the things that are core values to you and what you want to build your team around. I knew I could recruit. I knew I could motivate, be a leader of men, coach the defensive line, but I need somebody to run my defense. I needed somebody to run my special team. I needed somebody to run my offense. And in today's world, you have to score points to win. And we were very fortunate to have Steve Ensminger as the offensive coordinator. But when we got Joe Brady to come in and LSU switching to the spread was monumental now. We ran the football here for years and was a great team under Coach Miles. But we built our team with a spread offense. We had the quarterback, we had the receivers, and now Joe Brady came in and did a tremendous job of teaching us about the spread offense, and that was a change. And I had to let it go. I had to let the ropes go. I had to give them the keys, let them run the offense, run the defense, but I think as a head coach, I had to hold everybody accountable. I set the standard. The standard was way high. There was one standard. We was going to pick up the national championship trophy. And we had to work every day. And everybody within the organization, it was one team, one heartbeat. I coached from within. Everybody had a role. Everybody do their role. And is when you go to work, you feel good, you have a role, you have a sense of accomplishment, you're going to work hard. And I think that year we just had that feeling that everybody was pulling together. We were very powerful, and it all worked out fine.
It's funny, but when you were talking about that, one of the games I remember, because we all know when it comes to college football, rivalries mean so much. The LSU Alabama rivalry is such a big one, and that game that you guys won in Tuscaloosa, 46-41, mattered so much. But like you were saying, you had to score points. You had Joe Burrow slinging the ball around, but as well as that, on offense and defense, what I found from the LSU team is you could sense they were aggressive, and everybody on that team was hungry and they wanted to win. What was it in the preparation for that game that really drove that hunger into your players?
Well, we had lost to Alabama for 8 years, and we knew what I was saying. You got to beat Alabama to win the championship. And we finally had the team. Now, we played them pretty close, but close ain't good enough. These coaches that say they play close and they could have did this one more play and win, that don't count, man. You either win or you lose in this game. You know what I'm saying? And close didn't count. So we knew that we had the football team, we had the players, we had the coaching staff. But look, got to give it to Nick Saban, man. He had a dynasty. But in order to get there, you had to beat the champ. And they were the champ, and we did it.
Yeah, I think Saban only lost 8 games in Tuscaloosa, and you were one of the guys to go in and take him down. That's not an easy thing to do. I guess you were talking earlier about your role models. Of course, you spent a lot of time coaching at USC during that great team of the mid-2000s with Pete Carroll as the head coach. He's always seen in the game as being some sort of modernizer. What did you learn from working with him?
How to handle players. And to be a leader and don't have to be on them all the time. Let them come to work, man. Let them do their stuff. Let them do their own thinking, but also set the standard and hold them accountable. And when they step out of line, don't be afraid. Now listen, we had one of our core values We attack problems, not people. And I think anytime that you're in the workforce, when you sign up and the expectations are high and you're expected to do a great job, if you don't do it and your boss points out, hey, listen, tell me how we're going to fix this. This is wrong. Give me a solution. You can handle that. But it's when you start attacking people and they don't start pulling away from you. So I think that was one of the biggest things I learned from Coach.
I guess that's an interesting part because you spoke earlier about it. You knew one of your strengths is recruiting. I know, for example, when Jamar Chase you were trying to get him, he was committed to Florida. You managed to bring him over to Louisiana State. Was that message a big part of your recruiting? And say, listen, we attack problems. We have a high standard. We don't attack people.
No question. And one of the things with Jamar is, when you're recruiting, you have to identify who's the champion, who's the decision maker in the whole deal. And it was his mama. and most of the time, it is the mama. And Mr. Leah was wonderful. For some reason, someone had told him at LSU that the staff before that Jamar had to play cornerback. And his mama didn't want nothing to do with it. And I remember talking to his daddy, Jimmy, who was still friends. He goes, Coach, you have to convince Talia that he's going to play receiver. And then we had to convince Jamar that we were going to throw the football. And obviously we did.
So is that the more difficult aspect of recruiting, is trying to convince the parents more than convincing the players themselves sometimes?
Yeah. Well, the smart recruiters are going to find out who's making the decision. And listen, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. I go in there and I listen. If you listen long enough, they're going to tell you what they want. And then you can deliver it. And then you can set a plan up and say, hey, here's how we're going to do this. These are the things that y'all want to accomplish. Here's our plan. One of the greatest things that happened to me is, when you get the draft and you go into the green room, right? And the top draft choices with their parents and their families in the green room. And Mr. Leah, Jamar's mother, told me, said, Coach, I want to thank you. Everything that you told me you were going to do for my son, you did. And, as a man or as a coach, when you get a parent to tell you that, that's a sense of accomplishment. And then you can use it in recruiting again. Look at Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson is like the 2,000th player ranked in the country. We didn't care. We believed in Justin, and now he's one of the best players in the NFL.
It's interesting just in terms of your philosophy of how you coach at college level. I mean, to what extent do you have to see yourself as an educator? Because like that, when all these young kids are coming in, like you were talking about earlier, you say that you're gonna do things, but you need to impart on them some wisdom about not only how to be a good football player, but how to be a good man, a good professional.
That's part of it. Yeah, that's part of building the culture. The one of the things I enjoyed about college football is going to recruit a young man, looking at the parents of the eye and say, hey, these are the things that we're going to get done with your son. And, every parent wants to give their young man the best chance they can, and they want to go with somebody they believe in. And for them to get us to believe in us as a staff was a huge accomplishment. Now, once you get them here, you have to teach them how to become a young man. They're away from home. There's so many things to coaching besides coaching, like you just mentioned. Teach them culture, teach them discipline. Here's how you do things away from home. And we did a good job of that at LSU. Now, in order to do that, you have to have a great staff. You can't do it by yourself. And a great support staff. Man, we had Jack Marucci bats. Think about this. He started a bat company in his backyard. He was our trainer. He's analytics. He knew people. We had people for mental health. We had people helping academics. It was just a total team effort.
It's interesting when you talk about your staff, because you were talking earlier about also your transition from somebody who coaches D-line into being a CEO. Is it difficult to let go and to try and trust all the guys around you to do what they need to do and do their jobs?
Well, it was hard for me at Ole Miss. I didn't do it. And eventually it broke. I had to trust my evaluation when I I hired the people. When you hire somebody, do your research and trust your evaluation. And all the guys on my staff that were on my staff, I felt good about. I felt that they were bringing the best expertise that they could in their position to LSU, and it worked out.
It's interesting when we look back at your career. You were talking about Ole Miss, and of course, you some other steps in between at Tennessee and the New Orleans Saints. Do you look back at it now as sort of being necessary in order to build your blocks and all the experiences to eventually reach the peak at LSU, which is something you always dreamed of?
I think every school I went to was a reason. There was no question. And, the adversity, the good times. Look, Jimmy Johnson, Dennis Erickson, Paul Pasqualoni, Pete Carroll, Sean Payton. I mean, come on. Lane Kiffin, who's one of the top coaches in the country now. Steve Sarkisian was on our staff. So I was around a bunch of great players. And you know what? They learned from me and I learned from them.
I have to talk to you about getting Joe Burrow into the building. I was reading something earlier. Apparently, you were saying that one of the big things you had to try and convince him to move from Ohio State down to LSU was that you turn up with a 15-pound bucket of crawfish. Is that correct?
That's right. That's right. He wanted to eat crawfish, and we went to the restaurant, and they used to have crawfish, but they ran out. So I had to call my friend Boudreaux down the road, who took me a 40-pound sack and brought it through the back of the kitchen and put it on a tray and gave it to him. Well, you got to think fast, man. You got to think on your feet sometimes.
That's brilliantly Louisiana. I love that. That's.
Hey, listen, if you're not from Louisiana, that'd be hard to get done. I promise.
And what was it that made you trust in him, that you knew he was the guy? Because he wasn't getting reps in Ohio State the way he did in LSU. What made you look at this guy and say, yeah, this is my man?
Well, I was fortunate enough to have Bill Bush on my staff, who was at Ohio State with Joe. And he told me this. He says, Coach, if we get Joe Burrow, I trust Bill. If we get Joe Burrow, we're going to college football playoffs. I said, let's go get him. But the next day, when we came in on Saturday morning, we had a football meeting. Me, Jerry Sullivan, who was 74 years old at that time, had been in the NFL for maybe 30 years, Steve Ensmig, our whole staff, Joe's daddy, Joe's brother, and we were watching football. And Steve had made a cut-up of the plays that we run and the plays that Joe ran. And we were talking football and asking questions. Within 3-4 minutes, forget what it was, I knew that Joe Burrow was the smartest person in that room. And those included me, my whole staff, and I had been around Carson Palmer, Matt Leinart, Steve Walsh. I mean, some great quarterbacks, Gino Torretta. And I saw those qualities in Joe. And I learned from Jimmy Johnson, the number one thing that you got to have on your football team is a smart quarterback. And he was one.
And when you look at Joe Burrow now in Cincinnati, do you still see him as being the smartest guy in the room?
No question. And the toughest. He's a general. And the one thing about Joe is he's disciplined. He's consistent. He's not going to waver. Now, he knows when he's to have good times. He knows when to put it on and stuff like that. But when it's time for football, it's time for business, he's about as locked in and as focused as any human being I've seen.
Well, it's interesting to bring it back to your general time as coaching. What's interesting is the way that you use not only the stadium and Death Valley to try and get the most out of your players, but to really impart them what the LSU jersey means. We were talking earlier about the fact that you're from Louisiana. It's obviously something you get. Like, was it difficult to get into the players that what they're doing is really important, that they have to give everything for the 110,000 people who are in the stadium cheering them on?
Yeah. For them, well, they're fine. I'll tell you what, you go to LSU long enough, soon enough, if you don't give everything you have, you find out because they'll boo your ass out the stadium. But you know what? We brought ex-players back to practice. We brought them talking to the team. We had a Tiger walk, and we let the ex-players walk with us through the Tiger walk. And these are guys that you grew up idolizing at LSU. And then, I'll talk about one team, one heartbeat, And I said, you know what? This is about the state of Louisiana. It's for the people of Louisiana. And when you include the people of Louisiana, what a powerful thing that is. Because, look, Saturday night, there's one team playing. It's the LSU Tigers. And in the state of Louisiana, you're in the stadium or you watch it on TV. And for 3 or 4 hours, whether you're a cook, whether you're a billionaire, you are cheering for the LSU Tigers. And that is very powerful.
It's interesting. The culture of LSU is so interesting because I remember Will Campbell before this year's draft was like, "Hey, if you don't give 100%, you just go work at Amazon." It's as simple as that. It's quite obvious that culture is still there. Are you still based in Louisiana? Are you still knocking around Baton Rouge these days?
Yeah, I have a home in Louisiana, but I have a condominium in Miami Beach, and I've got a 37 floor overlooking the ocean. It's beautiful. And I spend most of my time there because I have 2 kids that are coaching. They're young analysts at the University of Miami, and I have one at Tulane. So I spend most of my time in Miami and Louisiana.
Oh, that's real interesting. So, when you see your kids now going into the coaching in Miami, do they kneel on you for advice sometimes, or do they sort of try to find their own way in a different world?
You know what? It all depends. I think the excellent and older part, they're way ahead of the game than I was at that age. But I think when it comes down to working, how to handle this, how to handle that in regular life activities, I will mentor them and somehow if they want it. But look, they're 27 years old. They're on their own now. They're grown men. So I just enjoy watching them. I just enjoy going to practice and watching.
Yeah, it's funny because obviously the best coaches are not only intelligent but they have to be good managers. And what I think somebody was described you before as being somebody who is always approachable, but everything you do you have with authority. It's very difficult to get that balance. Did you at what point did you even in yourself in your head coaching career did you feel like, okay, I'm really hitting the balance here?
No, it was at LSU. Well, I'll tell you what. When I became interim coach at USC, we turned that team around. There was a lot of things I changed, and it was a lot easier, to be honest. I mean, I pulled back. It was hard to pull back, but I pulled back the throttle a little bit. I said, my coach is home early. We rested. I practiced the team less. They had not had cookies on the food line. I gave them cookies. Everybody was happy. I mean, it's unbelievable when you do some little things for people, how much they're going to give back to you. So when I became the interim coach at USC, all the things I had written down that I will change, I'm not going to say all of them, but I did about 90% of them, and they worked. So when I got that shot at LSU, I did it, and it became fantastic.
I guess to look at, obviously, you've been out of you haven't been coach for LSU the last couple of years. How has the last few years been? What have you, obviously, I imagine you're still consuming so much football, but what have you been doing since you left LSU?
It's been great. I've been a parent. You know what? Think about this, man. For 37 years, I left the house about 5:30 in the morning, and I came back at 10:30 at night. And that's almost 330 days a year. You know what I'm saying? So my kids grew up, and they saw me on the weekends. They came to games. So I finally had a chance to be a parent. Now, I spend most of my time, I'm at the Miami practice. I've been to Notre Dame's practice. I've been to Tulane's practice. On Saturday, I watch all the football I can. Sunday, I watch. So I'm very involved. It's like I never left. But I am. My kids are settled, feeling good. I am entertaining the opportunity of maybe going back. I haven't made that decision, but it has crossed my mind.
That was my next question. I wonder at what point do you start getting the itch to try and, get back in the game?
Yeah, I got it. I can't lie. I got it. We're going to see this season, and, there's some possibilities that may happen. If they do or they don't, I'll be fine, whatever it is. But I would like to give it another shot.
Have you, forgive me, and you don't need to answer this if you don't want to, but have you put much thought into whether you go into the SEC or the Big Ten or what way that could look like?
No. I mean, no. I mean, really, I did a podcast with Big Cat and those guys were part of my take, and they asked me, and I told them, so it kind of hit the airways a little bit, but there's nothing. It's just been a thought, and nothing's been in concrete. So there's a lot of things that got to happen.
Who knows? You could end up coaching in Ireland someday. We keep bringing all these great teams over. I guess, and I appreciate you're very busy, and thank you so much for taking the time to join us. It's been such a thrill. I guess I just want to look a little bit this year because, of course, we're looking forward to the kickoff of the season. Texas are ranked number 1. It seems like everyone's talking about Arch Manning, and then of course in Louisiana, Garrett Nussmeier decided to stay, which has given a lot LSU fans some hope, and Brian Kelly a bit of hope as well. What are your hopes for this season? What way are you looking for things to pan out?
Look at IU last year. Nobody knew about them. With the transfer portal and NIL, these teams changed so much. But I do believe, now, it's not the only thing, but the play of the quarterback is so significant in winning the championship. If you look at it on paper, I think Arch Manning is a tremendous quarterback. Garrett Nussmeier, I recruited Garrett. I love him. I think he's tremendous. The kid at Clemson, I also recruited. I know him. I know all these boys. They're great players, man. So I think that the team that could endure, look what Notre Dame did. They had a big loss, right? They turned it around. Look what Ohio State did. You have a big loss and they turn it around. I think the team that handles adversity the most, it keeps on fighting and winning, is going to end up being the champion.
Yeah, does a 12-team playoff maybe give teams a bit more opportunity that if they do have a big setback during the season, like Notre Dame did last year, for example, that it's easier for them to flip the script, I suppose?
I think so. And look, I have my opinion. I'm big. Hey, look, when we went to playoffs, it was 4 teams, and it was elite. You know what I mean? And there was no jockeying or getting on the radio and say my team ought to be there with 2 losses or 3 losses. I think playing for the national championship is very elite, and to play for the national championship, you ought to be an elite football team.
I guess my final question is, again, on quarterbacks, because Garrett Nussmeier, there was a lot of talk as to whether he would go in the draft or whether he would stick with LSU for another year. He's stuck with the Tigers. I think a lot of people are very happy with that. If Archie Manning's in a similar situation this time next year, and we've heard talk coming out of their camp that maybe he will stick at Texas for an extra year, maybe he won't, what kind of advice would you be giving him?
Well, I'll say this to you. With the family he has, he don't need my advice. He had great advice. But, those people, I mean, that family, I know that family well. I know Archie well. I know Peyton. I know Eli. I know Cooper. And they're very well-rounded. I'm sure they have a plan. I know Coach Sarkisian. And they'll do the best. What's for Texas? He's a team player. And what's for Archie Manning. So they won't need me, I promise you.
All right. Well, listen, Ed, thank you so much for taking the time out to join us. This has been so great, especially for those of us, because like I said, for all of us who got a chance to go to New Orleans and get an experience what Louisiana is, to be able to speak to, a legend of the state is really brings so much color and so much life. And, you're a legend of the college game. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Hey, wait, I got a question for you, man.
Oh, go for it.
It's Cajun food and gumbo, okay? If I go home country in Ireland, what do I eat? What's my favorite food, man? What should I go get?
In Ireland? Well, I mean, obviously, like, we like our stews. That's the big thing. But you gotta get it the beef's gotta be slow cooked and be really soft. It's almost like it melts in your mouth. Sometimes to put the Guinness in the pot. I mean, the food culture here is obviously very different to Louisiana. But the mad thing is, Ireland's got really, really good seafood, but Irish people don't eat it. It's only ever visitors from America who get to really experience the seafood. For some reason, we don't eat seafood in the way that you guys do in Louisiana, even though we have some of the best seafood in Europe. It's amazing. So,
well, I like the idea of that beef stew, though. I like that. Is that over rice?
No, sometimes it's almost like one big broth that's kind of in the bowl, but you put like potatoes in the mix.
Oh, I like. Yeah, I like.
So yeah. it's real. When it's the winter time and it's like 30 degrees out Fahrenheit, that is, it hits a spot.
I got you, man. Well, look, hey, good luck in the game, and look, you did a great job on the interview, man. Congratulations.
Hey, listen, I got to prep for a national champ. You know what I mean?
Good.
So, hey, Ed Orgeron, thank you so much for taking the time out to join the Irish NFL show.
Thank you, my friend. Good luck.
Hey, it's Mike Rowe, and it just occurred to me that ZipRecruiter has been sponsoring my podcast, The Way I Heard It, for the last 10 years. Consequently, I've agreed to sing their jingle at the end of this commercial in 4-part harmony, all by myself. Why would I do that? Because years ago, when the MicroWorks Foundation was expanding and I was desperate to hire a few uniquely qualified individuals, I posted a job for free on ZipRecruiter, and I found the people I was looking for in less than 24 hours. It's that simple. Ever since, I've been telling my audience that ZipRecruiter got me the most qualified, most interested people. And now I'm telling you. Post a job for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip and watch what happens. That's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. And now, here's their official jingle in 4-part harmony.
Build your team, build it sooner. Meet your match at ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.